to my room, and uh, I took my razor, and I broke the metal off of it, or not the metal. I mean, I broke the plastic handle off of it, and so then you have just the top piece, and I broke the plastic across the front of the razor blade, so it was just a razor blade with a plastic back. And the reason I did that was because the razor blades are so thin that if you just free the entire razor blade, it's like a it's smaller than it's thinner than paper. It's absolutely useless. So to give it rigidity, you need to leave the plastic on it, and that's what I did. And then I pressed it into this wrist. Now, mind you, this store is 20 something years old, maybe older than that. But anyway, right there. And I was hiding in my room. So we all did these little cells, and they all opened into the main room. Like there was like one community room. I don't know if there was 4 or 5 cells in a row or something like that. And then their shower at the ending. And then like there was a couple of long tables in the middle that are like, bolted down, and some other stuff in there. And everybody's out in the common room. Well, I went into my bedroom. It has 2 bunks. And I did this. And I pressed it in and I pulled it out. And I've still got it in my hand. And then I'm just watching, the blood pool. And I looked up at like the window thing. There's really not a window, but there is a thing that allows light from the outside. And I was just looking at that. Then I looked back at the puddle that I was making, because I was just kind of standing there. And somebody seen it from the table outside, and they pointed it out and yelled out. I don't know what they said. Some guy just like pointed at me and yelled it, and I was like, oh shit, they're gonna stop me. And so I left my room, and I took a left, and I went down towards the shower area, and I went into the shower room, and I didn't have much time. And so I spread the blood all around my arms and around my face, everywhere. And my plan was, is if they didn't know where I was bleeding, I would gain some more seconds, I suppose. Yeah. The guards came in. Must have been very within a minute. I mean, they were there fast. Somebody had went up and hit the intercom, pushed a button, and said whatever I was doing. I knew they were coming. They came into the shower stall, grabbed me, one on each arm, pulled me out into the hallway, and I was in the hallway like for a second, and I think one guard was securing the door, shutting it back, and I don't know, yelling some orders or whatever, and I had let go of the razor blade into the puddle in front of the door that I was making, and they pulled me further down the hallway away from the glass window, I think, so that people couldn't see. I don't know. So they pulled me down further, probably getting me closer to the elevator. And one of the other guards came up, and I don't know how many guards there are, but there's a few at this point dealing with the situation. One of them had his rubber glove on, and he stuck his finger in my mouth, and he's reaching around my mouth, looking under my tongue and everything, and he's screaming at me, justifiably, "Where's the razor blade?" And I'm trying to answer him, "Ahar, ahar, ahar, ahar," which is, it's like trying to talk to a dentist. I tried to tell him it was in the puddle. Finally, he pulled his finger out, and I'm like, it's in the puddle in front of the door. And so that's like the first thing they're doing, is they're trying to figure out what it is that I used, and they want to be in control of it. And then I was there. Then they took me to the elevator. brought me down the elevator. Now I want you to know that not even once did any of them try to apply pressure on it. And I wasn't. So we get down the elevator, and wherever I'm going, I'm making a puddle. And I'm woozy. I'm done. And they get me to the car, and they just put me inside the car, and I'm cuffed in there or whatever, sitting in blood. They're not doing anything about it. Honestly, I didn't want them to. So the drive, the car would go into a kind of a carport or garage, like a garage that had two garage doors, one to enter, one to exit, and there was just enough room for a car and probably an officer to walk all the way around it. There wasn't a lot of room in there, but it was designed just to go in a car. And they put me in the car, and then they got an officer inside of it, and they opened it up and took me to the hospital. As soon as he opened it up, and that's where the sun would set, when he opened up the garage door and he's rolling out, and I'm looking out the window, I was out that day. And honestly, that's what I wanted. I don't think I really necessarily wanted to die at that point, but I wanted my situation and my life to change somehow, and I just didn't know anything else. So we get out of the precinct, or not the precinct, the jail. He cruises, takes the left, heads towards the hospital. When he takes that left, I can really start to see outside, and I think that made me happy. I was getting some sunshine. They took me to the hospital and stitched me up. I don't know, put a bag in me, bag of saline or whatever, and they brought me back. This other thing we do in jail was, and that's kind of the end of the story. I don't really know what else to say. I didn't really have a solution. It's the best I could come up with by myself. So this other thing we do in jail was, they'd give us underwear, obviously, and we would take the threads off of the underwear, out of the top of it, till they shag down. So we'd de-thread the top of our underwear on the elastic part, and we'd take all this really fine nylon thread out, and we'd make these crosses. And so we'd make these crosses, and then just and make little hearts with them, and strings and all this kind of stuff out of the tops of the underwear. And then we'd turn in our underwear 2 times a week or whatever, and they'd or was it once a week? They give you clothes, and I think it's twice a week maybe. Okay, well, anyway, whatever. There's intervals. You don't get clothes every day. So they came in, and I think guards were really mad because all of our tops of our underwears are frayed, and I think some of them knew what we were doing. So we'd kind of the way we'd get them out of jail was we'd wrap them in kind of toilet paper or whatever, and then when we'd get a letter, we'd stick them in that, and a lot of times they wouldn't get caught sending them out, but sometimes they would. I remember this guy was showing me how to make them, and we'd kind of make little rope. They showed me how to make rope. We'd get a paper clip or something, and then we'd make rope out of this little teeny rope out of this stuff. And then we'd make these crosses. And this one guy made me this really cool cross. It was really big. We weren't doing it because we were religious. I just think we were doing it because we were bored. I mean, he was probably religious. I was just bored. But I think they switched me around to cells, and I had carved out the soap to save them inside the soap packets. And they were like, you only need 1 bar of soap, and they threw 5 bars of soap out, and those my crosses were all inside those soap bar containers. So I lost most of them. I think I eventually got one of them out. I don't know what happened to it.